we need to talk. You know I love you. Love you more than I thought I could love anyone. This isn't working for me. And I think you and I both know this hasn't been working for some time. And I think we both know that it's not me. It's not my fault that I want the best for my life, for everything. And I don't mean to be super critical, but you're not cutting it. And I think we've both been unhappy with this arrangement for a while. Oh, don't look at me like that. Yeah, there's someone else, yes. There's someone else. Look, there's nothing that you can do. You're just not a ghost kill. They're going to be staying with me for a while. You can grab your things and, be out in like 10.
Hello Chassos, and welcome to my first list in 10th edition 40k. It is aptly named Reptar's Revenge, as we are going to be bringing the Storm Surge. Now, a caveat for me talking about this list has been inspired in part because of a love of my beautiful boy that I so rarely get to take to tournaments, and mostly because I want to see what the viability of this model actually is with some first-hand experience, and this RTT seemed like a perfect place to do it. The other thing that you'll notice is that not everything in my list is as keyed in as it potentially could be, and if I had all of the models available to me, this list might look very, very different, but I am using the things that I have available to me, as I am not flush with everything in the Tau collection. Having said that, let's get into the video. Let's have a look at Reptar, but first, sponsor. Moritesh Studios is a commission painting service based in Sydney, New South Wales, run by a family man and a 40k enthusiast. And interestingly, Moritesh in Eldari is actually the death of Grey, which is incredibly fitting, as the owner of Moritesh Studios is a passionate Eldari Drakari and Harlequins player. Very, very fitting for a commission painting service. Moritesh got started from a love of painting models and helping out a number of highly ranked players, including models that have been used at national and international level, including armies that they painted being played on the world's winning WTC Australian team. Moritesh in particular for me have been an incredible service, as for those that have been following my channel for a while, you know that I sustained a number of injuries when I was in Afghanistan, most notable of which is missing 20% of 2 of my vertebrae. The hobbying part of this hobby is actually one of the worst parts for me. So when I had a tournament coming up and I needed a unit of Pathfinders painted as quickly as possible to get me to tabletop ready, I had Moritesh do that for me, and the results speak for themselves. I asked for basic, quick, and just getting me on the table, and what they delivered was absolutely fantastic. And I know that with a little bit of extra time, it would be a model that would blow people away. Not only that, Moritesh is willing to work with their customers to get a feel, a style, and a color that you absolutely love, taking all of the hassle out of painting up your models. I am so glad to be able to do this sponsorship, as I am such a big fan, and I consider the owner of Moritesh a friend. So if you would like to have a character, a unit, or an entire army painted by one of the best, head to the link in the description to get in contact with Moritesh Studios and find out how they can make your next dream army come true. Thank you so much to Moritesh Studios, not only for the sponsorship, but for this awesome unit of Pathfinders that I am so happy with. Also, a quick shout out to our video's second sponsor, Irresistible Force, a local gaming store in Logan, Queensland, who have been my supporter for the longest time. Irresistible Force have generated an affiliate link for me, so if you would like to support me, support that LGS, and keep open a business that actually has tables and services for people to walk in, head to the link down in the description, helps support Irresistible Force. Thank you so much for being there through everything, through my growth. I cannot wait to keep plugging the hell out of that LGS. All right, so let's get into the video. Reptar, for anybody who was a kid in the 90s or I guess even the early 2000s, you are very, very familiar with Rugrats. Me and my wife, when we saw this paint scheme, we knew that it was going to be called that, and both of us just kind of fell in love with it. It had a little bit to do with the fact that we barely had any money, and this thing was going on an international website for basically nothing. But there was just something about it that stuck out to us and struck us, and I've just been so happy ever since. So let's get into the list. Let's have a talk about the first list that I'm taking in 10th edition 40k. Alright, so as all of us need to, I am taking the Cao Yun detachment. Unfortunately, because of the list of models that I have and everything else, I am stuck at 1985 points, which coming from 9th edition is a little bit of a feels bad, but the blow has been softened because I've been learning Age of Sigmar, and I will have some content coming out on that as well, as I am getting myself a little bit into that game, but I'm definitely from a competitive standpoint starting lower on the scale, though I think there will be some transferable skills. So let's talk first and foremost about my boy, the myth, the legend, the GOAT, the Storm Surge. Clocking in at 405 points, it is rocking the cluster rocket system, destroyer missiles, thunderous footfalls, and the double twin smart missile systems. Now, those I list out first because they are non-negotiable. That is what the Storm Surge comes with. I've opted to keep the Twin Tower Flamer, which is not a terrible profile, honestly, especially in a world where we can Overwatch. If something decides to come in a little bit close to this, he can just immediately turn and 2d6 auto hitting shots with re-rolling, because this weapon is twin linked, is coming down range at those people. I've then opted for the Pulse Blast Cannon. The Pulse Driver Cannon doesn't look terrible, honestly, and it's got a really, really good range, but having the two profiles on this, a little bit of extra AP, a little bit of extra damage. Obviously, the Dispersed profile that's got a few more shots, it has less AP than the Driver Cannon, but if you use the close range profile where you're doing 12 damage a shot, that is just really nice. I am testing this to find out how good of an anti-vehicle platform this is, or anti-tank, and just see whether it is just going to immediately die in any of my games. Really, really keen to have this hanging out with the other ghost kills who can stand in the open. Reptar can occupy a bit of terrain and he can see through it and they can see him. But having said that, if I keep him at range, that will obviously make it a bit of a more scary prospect coming out to get him. Then let's go through our characters. So we have Commander Shadowsun. She is our Warlord, as Warlord means literally nothing, but that's just Shadowsun. I've mostly put her the Warlord because if there are any benefits to killing somebody's Warlord, which I don't think there is from what I've seen, Assassinate is just killing characters. But I've just chucked that on her. Nothing really to talk about with her. She is complete package. Reroll once to hit in an aura around her, which no longer requires core or anything else. Ghost kills can benefit. Farsight Marksman can benefit. Reptar can benefit. Everybody can use her buffs, and she has Lone Operative, so standing out in the open, as long as I can stop people from getting within 12 of her, she is not getting shot at. I've got a Commander in Cold Star Battlesuit, which is 100% going to get attached to the Crisis team that I'm going to show you a little bit later on. He is rocking Exemplar of the Cao Yun, which allows that unit that he is leading, as well as himself, to benefit from Cao Yun from turn 2 onwards, which is going to be very, very powerful. I've opted for 4 Cyclic Ion Blasters. There may be a chance before the RTT that I swap over to the High Output Burst Cannon again on him, but I want to test this out a little bit just to have that same profile and everything and just see how all of that goes, though the High Output Burst Cannon is not a terrible choice being 8 shots. It's still a decent amount of volume. I've put a Marker Drone and a Shield Drone on him, so his wounds go up by 1, and the Marker Drone is literally just there to give the Crisis Suits the marker-like keyword. Thereby, when they guide another unit on, they are giving them ignore cover, which I think is going to be a very, very big deal with some of the guns that I've got that that have AP on them and aren't just AP zip. The Ethereal, I've got a Marker Drone and a Shield Drone. Now, this guy is going to be a little bit of a flex. I am fairly certain he's going to be sitting in strategic reserves for the entire game. Moving into 10th, the rules were changed where they're not destroyed at the end of turn 3 if they're not on the battlefield. It is end of the battle. There is also an explicit line of text that says units can use abilities and auras and whatever else when they are not on the battlefield. This means that the Ethereal can sit there and I can roll a 4-up every single turn to try and get CP. And if I need him, he can come onto the board and he can try and, take objectives or do actions or whatever else. But if I don't need him, he's not going to get shot at because we don't have Lookout Sir anymore and he's not leading a particular unit in my list. So it means that he is safe. He's able to come on when I need him to. He's potentially able to do actions or whatever else to get me secondaries. And if none of that happens, he's a 50-50 chance of getting a CP every single turn. I love that. I had an extra set of points lying around and he was a decent option. Firesight team. I would love to be rocking 2 or 3 of these guys. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the models. Now, I haven't put any enhancements on him because I just didn't have the points, but this guy is great. Lone operative. He is just an absolute unit, being able to have, if he's guided, he's got full rerolls to hit. If we put him up on top of a building, we benefit from plunging fire, giving him an additional pip of AP, and he can target characters. He is a very, very scary prospect. I wish I could have more. Moving on to the other data sheets. The first one is the Crisis Battlesuit team. I've opted for 6 battlesuits, 390 points. Now, there is a part of me that, and if I drop the Storm Surge, this becomes infinitely possible, of splitting them into 2 3-mans, including another commander. I don't mind that as having, multiple sort of threats on the battlefield, having 1 in Manta, 1 start on the field, whatever I need to do. But this 6-man is an absolute Death Star. Especially while they've got a Cold Star, they are going fast, they are hitting hard, they can fire and fade, and all of them are rocking Cyclic Ion Blasters. As you can see, I've broken up the Chasvra and the Chasui. By the way, all of this has been taken from the new GW Army Building app. If you haven't seen that, on Warhammer Community, they've got a link to both the Google Play Store and the Apple Store for you to be able to download that. It is online now. It is free for the first month. I'm going to make a video talking about that. I don't think GW should shoot themselves in the foot by monetizing this shit. But anyway, that's not for this video. They are all rocking the weapon support system, so I can ignore any or all modifiers. Now, a couple of things to talk about with the Crisis. Cyclic Ion Blasters, most of the time I'm going to be using the non-overcharged profile until I absolutely desperately need it, because hazardous tests are a flat 3 mortal wounds on vehicles, which they are. And that is a startling prospect. All of them have shield drones, which means that they're all 6 wounds, so it'll take 2 failed hazardous tests in order for me to kill off a suit. But I will only do that when I know that I absolutely need to do that. But these guys benefiting Cao Yun turn 2 are going to be an absolute monster unit, and then being able to fire and fade 12 inches rather than the 6 that we're used to in 9th is very, very nice. One thing that I want to point out, because most of our battle suits are vehicles now and walkers, while they are locked in combat, they are still eligible to guide a unit because of big guns never tire. They are eligible to shoot even when they're locked in combat. More than that, because of big guns never tire, the weapon support system means I do not suffer a -1. Just the same as 9th, I can fire into combat with no penalties whatsoever. And in fact, I can have another unit guide me on so that I'm shooting on 3s, ignoring cover, whatever else. I'll let you know how this unit goes. I will definitely have a review of the RTT and how the list went and everything else. So if you're not subscribed, make sure that you are. And if you want to have behind the scenes footage and photos and everything else, make sure you go to my Patreon or to the YouTube members link right down below and join the Pantheon Studios Australia Discord, because I'll be posting a bunch of that stuff on my Patreon and into the Discord channels as appropriate. 2 units of Crude Hounds. I know that in my index review, I was mourning the loss of, most of what the Crude Hounds were. They are still incredibly efficient for 2 30-point units, especially when you consider that there are a lot of actions that happen for secondaries that I want to have throwaway units to be able to do and not feel like I'm exposing units that I care about dying. I'm rocking 2 Ghost Kills. Now, in a perfect world, I would have 3 of these and I would have 3 of the Firesight Marksmen. I was not able to do that. I could get the models, but I just didn't have the points when running Reptar. I'm running a battlefield support system, battlesuit support system, which means that they lose the smoke keyword, but that doesn't matter because they've got stealth. They're -1 to hit natively anyway. But it means that they can fall back and shoot. Now, why is that a big deal? And this is the same for the stealth suit teams. Battlesuit support system fall back and shoot means that they can fall back from a unit, shoot at whatever they fell back from, and are still eligible for the greater good. They can still guide a unit on, or be an observer, or whatever else. Be guided or be an observer. Sorry, I just said the same thing twice in a row. So that is a huge amount of utility that, because these guys are lone operative, we know that we're going to try and play keep away, keeping guys outside of 12. If we get rushed and somebody charges them, which is, technically the right play on behalf of that player to try and lock these guys up, I could big guns never tire them, and that would be fine, and I'd be eligible for the greater good. But if I can fall back, I can make distance, I can still use for the greater good. And, even though I could do it when I'm standing there, if I don't want to be standing there in the open because there's more stuff coming, I use my movement to play keep away even more, and I will not lose that ability or the ability to shoot at those people that I've just fallen back from. I'm rocking the Cyclic Ion Raker because I value the range and I value the anti-heavy infantry that we've got. And Twin Fusion Blaster, if anything gets close, these things are going to rail, especially... while we've got Cao Yun running, we have a small percentage chance, but a percentage chance to get some additional hits. Now we move on to the unsung heroes of what a lot of lists are going to be, I think. The stealth battlesuit teams, and I kind of love the glow up that these guys got. I'm sad that homing beacon doesn't get around turn 1 deep strike. All of them have the homing beacon on, but it means that I can use rapid ingress for 0 CP, which is very nice now that we don't start the game with 6 CP. We actually start at 0 and then build our way up. The Shazbra, I have put the battlesuit support system on. Again, fall back and shoot. Now, bear in mind, only the bearer of this support system can shoot when the unit falls back. The unit is eligible to shoot, so you can still do for the greater good, but the other two guys aren't shooting with their burst cannons if they fall back. That isn't the big thing, though, for the greater good, is because these guys have the rule that when they are guiding a unit, that unit gets reroll 1s to wound, which on a Crisis Battlesuit Death Star or Reptar or whatever else is going to be a big deal. I've got a marker and a shield drone, so they have the marker like keyword, so when they do it, they are giving them ignore cover. So the stealth suit teams, you can see on there, I've got 3 of them just sitting at units of 3, so there are 9 stealth suits total across 3 units. I am really looking forward to them. They have infiltrators, which allows them to forward deploy, which can put them into some really obnoxious positions, and because of their stealth keyword, they're at least a little defensible. Now, one thing to say about these guys, these are one of the few battlesuits that did not get vehicle and walker, which means that these guys can breach through walls, so they don't have to go all the way around. They are still battlesuits, so they can fire and fade if you want them to, though I don't really see a reason why you'd want to spend 2 CP on them. Because I've got a marker light on them, they have the marker light keyword, so they are giving them ignore cover. Really, really fantastic. Cannot wait to use these guys. Last, but certainly not least, we have 3 single model Piranha units. I am in love with the glow up that these guys got. They are all rocking a Fusion Blaster because of their scout pre-game move and then enormous move distance. It is very likely they get into Fusion Blaster range. They are one of the few units that didn't really get too hit with the reduction in range to these. They are a great anti-tank option, especially because each one of them is running 2 Seeker missiles. They are one shot, but when those one shots go off, if you hit and wound, those things do a good amount of damage, especially with some of the highest strength that we have in our index, which is weird. So weird to say. They also have the Twin Pulse Carbines, which is a little bit of extra shots. The biggest thing on them is that it is assault. If we need them to advance and for the greater good, or even just get some incidental fire down to maybe have them behind a wall and just chuck pot shots at a unit that we can see, but we're not in an exposed position, they can still do that. Or the biggest thing, as I said, being able to guide another unit on. That is my list. So far as I'm looking at it, I am happy with everything that I have put in here. I am hoping that the Storm Surge gives me the results that I'm looking for. I'm very, very keen to get into some of the tactical missions. I've had a little bit of a look at some of the fixed missions that you can do, and while they look fine, there is a part of the tactical missions that, for a skilled player, give you options to score over the top of what you might normally be able to do, though time will tell which one will actually be better. Really, really excited to get my first game of Tau onto the tables. Let me know what you think down in the description. Thank you so much to all of my patrons that make all of these videos possible and make me getting onto the table with the models that I need possible. If you would like to join them, get a whole heap of benefits, including access to the Discord, and for anybody that is a patron or a YouTube member, from now until the end of August, even if it's just 1 month, you will be on a cutout that is going to be at the GT that I'm running at the end of the year, up next to the Art of War and all of the other material that we've got for every player at that tournament to look at and admire as my awesome Chassuis, Chasvros, and Chassos. Really excited to hear what you think. Our next video is going to be an on-the-table explanation of how For the Greater Good works, what the interactions are, and some things to look out for. Thank you very much, Chassos, and I'll see you in the next one.